Hi everyone, my name is Varun Chandak and I'm the founder and executive director of Access to Success. It is my great pleasure to welcome you here today to the Accessibility Innovation Exchange, or AX, where startups, talent, and ecosystem partners meet. Now, before I continue any further, some quick housekeeping. First of all, this event is being recorded, as you can tell from all the tech setup that we've been trying to fix, which is all working now. Captions are available thanks to Microsoft. Hopefully they are working, and I see that they are. And finally, if you need any support or assistance, please find one of the Access to Success team members wearing one of these blue t-shirts which say Enable Everyone. My colleague Steven is right here. We've got two more outside. Please come find us if we can help you in any way. And then I would like to thank our venue sponsor, 111, for letting us use this beautiful space of theirs this evening. And to share a few remarks, I would like to invite Kate Tillman from 111.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate, so I'm the Director of Operations here at 111. Welcome to the space. If you don't know what 111 is, so 111 is co-working and accelerator space for emerging tech startups. So there's about 40 companies that work out of this space, all in varying industries. We have everything from clean tech to med tech to cybersecurity. There's been a vending machine company here. So it's an exciting space, and we love having events like this in the space, but I think this is especially important work that Varun and everyone at Access to Success is doing. Certainly needed, and it's important that we have these conversations like today and in this space. It's always wonderful to have everyone here. So if you have any questions about 111 or the space, I'm happy to answer them. I'll stick around for a little bit, but I won't take too much of your time. So thank you.
So much. Right now, all of you have taken time out of the middle of your week to come here after work hours, and I appreciate that so much. But why? Why is everyone here? The reason why we do what we do is because of all of you here. And that is what I would like to talk about for a quick few minutes. Access to Success is a leading global accelerator for accessibility startups. It's a program that is designed specifically for disabilities. It's designed for startups that are building innovations in the space of mobility, hearing, vision, cognition, neurodiversity, even aging and rehab. Anything that you're building, if it helps people with disabilities, we want to help you scale. And that's a key word. Everything that we do is designed for scale. The unique programming, the mentorship, the network, the resources that we provide are all specifically chosen to help accessibility innovations reach more people around the world. For instance, we will do programming on inclusive design and co-designing with the disability community. We will do programming on customer acquisition, but in the disability space. And the best part is, my team is not the one delivering this programming. To deliver this programming, we bring in the best of the best from around the world who've built, scaled, and sometimes sold accessibility startups. And they're the ones who come in and talk about what they know best. You'll hopefully have a chance to meet a number of our current ATS participants here today, so ask them about their experience. They also have the opportunity to be mentored by well over 200 global disability leaders from organizations like CNIB, Microsoft, Google, all the big names that we are familiar with. Ultimately, we are on a mission to enable everyone. We launched the organization in 2016. The accelerator has been around since 2019. And since then, across 6 cohorts, our 78 alumni, including the current cohort, have raised over $55 million in equity and non-dilutive funding, and they've generated over $48 million in revenues. And for them, we've delivered over 400 hours of programming. But that's not what's important. What's important is the fact that these 78 companies, these 78 startups from 10 countries have gone on to benefit over 2 million people with disabilities already, which puts us on track to reach 8 million people by 2032. Why is that number there? Why 8 million? Why not a nice round clean figure like 10 million? We want to reach 8 million people by 2032 because that number represents the current number of Canadians who identify as having a disability. That's the number we want to reach worldwide. And we're not going to be able to do this on our own. To do this, we are very fortunate to work with a large number of organizations, sponsors, collaborators, and a lot of these collaborators that you see right now are going to be the ones talking to you today during the reverse pitch section of the program. Fortunately, what we're doing seems to be working. It seems like entrepreneurs are getting some value out of it. The efforts that we are putting in is getting these innovations in the hands of more people with disabilities. So I would like to invite you to get involved more. This event here, if this is your first time participating in one of Access to Success events, hopefully this will not be the last. I invite you to join us at the ATS Demo Day 2025 and on November 24th, which will be a hybrid event in downtown Toronto and in person. This will be a celebration of the efforts of the 18 organizations going through our program right now. It will be an opportunity for them to share the work that they're doing with amazing people like you, with 300 of some of the most driven investors, disability leaders, disability organizations, corporate representatives from all over the world. You're welcome to follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our newsletter where we share a whole lot of resources and updates. I'll pause here for a second in case anyone wants to grab the QR codes. If you would like to go to the website directly, you can go to accesstosuccess.ca/newsletter. And that neatly brings us to today. I did say a little bit about why you're all here. Well, that background so far was all about Access to Success, but what about today? I'm going to share two things, two pieces of context, one personal and one a little more pragmatic. The personal one is that I have a couple of disabilities myself. I do this because I've lived the experience of growing up with disabilities. I'm hard of hearing, and so I'm relying on live captions right now. When the pitches happen, I wear hearing aids in both my ears. And so I've seen the life-changing impact of live captions on my life. I had my first phone call at the age of 30 years old, because that's how long it took the world to provide live captions for phone calls. I'm doing okay now. That's why we do what we do. We want those experiences to happen for more people with disabilities around the world. We know for a fact that these innovations, whether tech-based or not, can change the lives of people with disabilities. So we want to help the entrepreneurs working on those dreams of those people with disabilities so we can help them scale worldwide. And like I said, since we can't do this on our own, it takes a village. And that's the reason, that's the pragmatic reason why we are here today, because no disability operates in a silo. No person with a disability operates in a silo. Even me, I said I have hearing loss, but I also have a physical disability, Erb's palsy, which is a form of partial paralysis in my left arm. So I could go to an organization in the hearing loss space, but I will also perhaps need an organization in the physical disability space. And that's why we brought together all the major organizations doing amazing work to support disability startups across all different disability categories. And they're the ones who are going to be here talking to you about all the supports available for you, all the ways you can get funding, all the ways you can get resources, all together in one room with entrepreneurs, with the ecosystem, and with people with disabilities all together. That was my bit. And with no further ado, I would now like to invite our first pitch from Kite Research Institute at UHN, and speaking on behalf of Kite is my dear friend, Anthony Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Wow, First off, thanks. Just love seeing everyone here. Arun, Stephen, Evan, the rest of the ATS team. Thank you for your leadership and really bringing everyone together. It really needs the whole community to really change people's lives. Keep doing what you're doing. So, good morning, good afternoon. So I'm Anthony Palma, and I'm the director for partnerships and strategic initiatives. And I'm going to be walking through a few slides here, talking about the KITE Research Institute. Some of you that don't know much about KITE, we're a leader in the rehabilitation sciences space. We're the research arm of Toronto Rehab. That's part of the University Health Network. UHN is the largest research hospital here in Canada and one of the leading ones in the world. Over at KITE, we have about 50 core scientists, and about 33% of them are engineers. So imagine engineers working with clinicians, allied health professionals, with access to a sea of patients who were here to co-develop many of these solutions. Our teams are fully broken down into 5 teams: cardiovascular, neuroscience, injury, as well as aging and MSK. And many of these teams are set up so that we have direct integration with our clinical programs at the hospital. Why is that important? We need access to the patients. The patients are there. And men co-design, co-develop, so that when we are building these tools, devices together, finding ways to do that. We're also an ecosystem player. I say that because many of my scientists are really working closely across many different industry verticals. Game, AR, national LA, architects, engineers. Why is that so important? Every industry is illegal to deliver here. And we can do that at KITE. And more recently, back in June, we got recognized globally on this Forbes Accessibility 100 list, and really proud of that. Don't know how we're going to leverage that, but I'm looking for partners to see how we can raise the profile, the voices, to say this is a very important space. We cannot do it alone, we have to do it together. So if you have any ideas, happy to chat later. So why are we here? So I have all these researchers, and the purpose, we commit our time, our lives, towards finding solutions for people with illnesses, people with disabilities, people with older age, and 3 focal areas that are very important to us. Prevention. How do we keep you away from the hospital? I'm in a hospital. I don't want to be there. Restorative. So you might have a family friend who might have suffered a stroke and might have suffered paralysis in the arm. We have technologies at KITE who have ways to restore the use of that arm. When we can restore many of those arms, whether it's an arm, whether it's going to be your lower limbs or whatever it's going to be, we're able to bring you back to the home. And the 3rd focal area, making sure that we can keep you in the community. Because, I guess everyone would agree, we don't want you in the hospital. So how can we partner up to keep you at home? So, the challenge. By the year 2050, almost 50% of all Canadians will be elderly and disabled. We need to come together and come up with these solutions. We're in a space where drug development is very important. I was at the bench doing drug development, early protein chemistries, and hoping that whatever I came up with was going to be a drug. And the journey to get a drug into the hands of people is going to be 25 to 30 years, right? And if we, in our rehabilitation space, with engineers coming up with new technologies, we can increase the number of tools, get them into the hands of people 3 to 5 years from the day we start. That's quicker to impact. We need more of us doing this. So just some areas of focus here at Kite. We focus on like remote monitoring and diagnostic and care. So where do robotics come into play? Wearables and sensors. Because these are vehicles to keep you at home. We can detect your health from afar, then we can prevent from afar and keep you from going to the hospital. Other areas, time is up. Oh my goodness, precision medicine. That's 4 minutes, really. Last time made me wear a mask. Okay, we're more than a lab. Test round, where we do real life validations with patients, bring the clinicians, allied health professionals. I'm going really fast with this one here. And some of the offerings for ventures, support services, we provide consultation, technology assessments. We will bring you in front of all the patients and allied professionals. You need that input for your technologies. Get that info, we help speed up market, right? Patients, we have simulation laboratories, a creative agency and such. If you are looking for partners to do research, you want to further to develop those technologies, I have scientists who are looking to partner with you. So come talk with me. I have my folks in the room, Janitha in the front and Garrick in the back, and I think I'm getting the boot right now. And what are we looking for right now? If you're looking for some ventures who want some consultation, who want to do some assessments with us, we're also looking for folks who have applications with elderly, and more specifically, tech that's going to be associated with social engagement, as well as human mobility detection. And we also have a community lab called a specialized machine unit at UHM. It has the highest concentration of patients with dementia. If you have tools that you want to test and validate, you have that space for you. Talk with me. You need that. We're here. Thank you very much. You're mean.
First is a mask during Halloween.
Well, on behalf of all the entrepreneurs here, see what it feels like. For all of you, those of you who've done the pitches, you know what it's like. So as you can see from Anthony's remarks, the idea is that no matter what area of disability you're building in, what area of disability you're interested in, there are going to be organizations here in the room that are probably going to be able to help you. If you don't find anyone, make sure you come find me. With that, I would like to invite our next speaker from Ontario Brain Institute, Lucas.
Okay, cool. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to connect with you guys. And just a quick shout out to Varun for having us out here and organizing these events. It's always great to meet with people in the ecosystem, in the community, and just really drive home the message that it doesn't take just one group to make this happen. And I think the group that we'll be pitching today is really representative of that. So just to kick it off, I'm Lucas. I'm with the Ontario Brain Institute. I manage our commercialization activities, which we'll briefly go through. But essentially, if you're not familiar with the Brain Institute, we partner with companies and the community to accelerate real-world solutions and brain health innovation. So I want to just share how OBI supports some of these entrepreneurs to drive innovations and improve brain health. And we'd love to be a part of your journey from idea to impact. So OBI is a provincially funded nonprofit organization advancing brain health solutions through innovation. Since 2010, OBI has received $215 million in funding from the Ontario government and has morphed that into $700 million in impact on brain health. Our mission is relatively simple: connect researchers, industry, and patient communities to transform neuroscience innovations into a real-world impact. We bring together people, data, funding, and lived experience to move innovations from bench to bedside. So we advance brain health solutions by working across the ecosystem with over 20 clinical and academic research sites, an open access informatics and data platform, over 100 portfolio neurotech companies, and most importantly, over 30 partnerships with community and patient advocacy groups. So through these partnerships, we've developed programs that turn promising concepts into validated and scalable technologies. For patient advocacy groups, also called health charities, play a super critical role in improving brain health. Groups like the Alzheimer's Society deliver services and supports that fill gaps in care and empower people living with brain disorders. They also help make sure that the work we do is addressing issues that are important to their clients. And building trust and establish true partnerships that allow us to bring together our complementary skills to have a bigger impact. So this is really just a quick overview of our pipeline of activities that we focus on. So one of our mandates is to facilitate and support the neurotech commercialization in Canada. And we do this through 4 major pillars. 1, through developing technologies, 2, through building companies, 3, through attracting investments, and 4, through developing talent. So our commercialization programs are designed to help companies at different stages of the commercialization pipeline, and to ensure our programs could support people from ideation to up to later stage, going through regulatory and even scaling through sales and marketing and getting into the hands of people with brain health disorders. At the end of the day, the reason why we do this is really just to have that patient impact and to get technologies into the hands of people that need them. We support ventures through milestone-based funding, clinical trial validation, and ecosystem engagement at every stage of the journey. So one of our main programs is called the NERV program, which stands for Early Stage Neurotech Validation, something along those lines. Neuroscientists aren't known for their marketing abilities, so NERV is the name of the program that we go with. And you'll see later on it gets much worse. But starting off with NERV, it's $100,000 in funding and non-dilutive support for early stage startups. We also provide mentorship and business training just to help someone become that entrepreneur, become a first-time business owner, and just learn those essential steps and skills that they need to run a company. Since NERV has launched, we've supported 90 entrepreneurs with over $168 million in follow-on investment. That's over 30 times leverage on OPI funding. If you're an early stage company with a bold brain idea, then NERV can help validate it and get it ready for market. So I warned you already, our next program is called NERD, which stands for Neurotech Early Research and Development. So this is a funding program that addresses a critical funding gap that helps companies bridge the gap between research grants and private capital, and provides milestone-based funding like product development. And I'm about to get the boot now, so I'm just going to really speed through things. So this is really just for later stage funding companies that require funding to help them raise venture capital or angel investment. We also support internships, so we invest in talent and help build your team to help startups build capacity while supporting recent graduates. We support over 184 internships to date. And finally, Cortex, which I think is a really important program to cover, is we notice that there's a gap in helping companies scale and adopt their products into the home market. So we developed a Cortex program to connect neurotech companies and patient and community groups to test products in real-world settings and evaluate them outside of the clinic and in the home market. So if you're a startup that's looking to validate your technology and into the hands of community, then please talk to us, and we're more than interested to see if there's an opportunity there for funding. I'll just wrap things up. So if you're solving big health problems in mental health and neurodegenerative diseases, concussion, brain injury, or anything on the neurodevelopment side, we want to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. Better time than our previous speaker. Next up, the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation, Tyler.
All right, awesome. Last time I did this, it was Halloween, and I was dressed as Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. So I have a mullet this time around, so hopefully I'm a little bit more memorable in that way. But quick show of hands: who here has someone in their life aged 65 or up? Okay, very good. Who here knows someone that's living with some form of cognitive impairment, dementia? Okay, so a lot of hands, right? These are populations and challenges that we can all relate to, right? As we hear every day, the population is just getting older and older, and so we need people to develop new solutions, impactful solutions in this space, and that's where my work at CABI, the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation, comes in. So our mission at CABI is to drive the development and adoption of transformative aging and brain health innovations, as I mentioned, and our vision is a world where every older person lives with purpose, fulfillment, and dignity. I won't spend too long on these slides, but basically, if you haven't heard of CABI, we're based out of Baycrest Hospital up in North York. Baycrest, for those of you who don't know, it's a senior care, it's a global leader in senior care. And so it's a hospital, yes, but it also provides residential care. It's also a research center, an education center, as well as an innovation hub. And so just some facts and figures around Baycrest. Like I said, I won't spend too long on this here. But really the point is, we're very lucky at CABI to be powered by Baycrest. We have access to all their scientists and researchers, applied research and evaluation. And so we're very lucky to have that expertise and that personnel behind us. And so you might be asking, well, what does aging and brain health actually look like? And so all of our innovators at CABI, whether you're a student, whether you're a scale-up company or a researcher, senior care organization in Vancouver, all the way to Halifax, all of them are working on at least one of these core innovation themes, or perhaps a few of them, ranging from aging at home, caregiver support, care coordination and navigation, cognitive and mental health, financial health and wellness, and more recently, women's brain health and femtech, right? And so this is a fun slide. This is basically an overview of CABI's current core funding programs. So what we do is we provide both funding and various acceleration services to innovators. And the idea is that regardless if you're, like I said, a post-secondary student or recent graduate working on early stage solution, or you're PhD, you're a postdoc, you're a recreational therapist at a long-term care home, or you're a scale-up company, we have various programs for different stages of folks and the maturity of your solution. And so those are kind of the suite of our programs there. And I do want to make a quick call out to our DNA Discover and Adopt program. This is basically our matchmaking program where we say, hey, senior care organization, let's say a long-term care home, tell us about your clinical pain points. We'll put out a call to our network, and if someone has a solution that can address that pain point, we'll kind of provide funding to match them up, I suppose. It's kind of like dating. And so we actually have a call for innovators for our current DNA program until October 24th. So check that out on CABI's website. Quick call out here. So in addition to the core funding programs that I mentioned on the previous slide, we also have various initiatives for different folks. If you're, like I said, a scientist, a researcher, a trainee, we have some free learning opportunities for you through the CABI Science Collaborative. We've also most recently published our Age Tech Insights Report, which is basically market intelligence to advance the global age tech sector. And finally, we actually just closed our applications, unfortunately, but we are going to run more cohorts of the Next Gen Support Package. Like I said, if you're a post-secondary student or recent graduate within the last 2 years working on an early age tech solution, we have funding and supports for you there. And so here's our fancy slide to show all of our impact. I'm out of time, so I'm just going to pass by that right now. But really the takeaway here is if you're interested in working in the aging and brain health space, come talk to me, come talk to our team, shoot me an email, check out our website. And thank you so much to ATS for this wonderful event, and thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ty. And I recognize that there's a little bit of talk and act going on, and all of you are listening, and you haven't had a chance to ask a few questions, and I promise we'll make that time. We had intended for there to be Q&A after each pitch, but I do want to manage time and make sure we are doing okay. So we'll make sure we leave some time at the end of all of the pitches. So with that, I would like to invite our next organization, Mars.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Poirier and I'm with Mars Discovery District. I'm on our Health and Innovation and Impact team. I wrote down notes to make sure I was within my allotted time slot, unlike my other presidents. So Mars Discovery District is North America's largest urban innovation hub, and our purpose is to help innovators create a better world. We do this by helping over 1,200 ventures grow and scale. We're a registered non-for-profit charity, and we convene stakeholders across sectors. I realized I didn't switch, I'm sorry. We convene stakeholders across sectors, governments, industry, to achieve positive social change. We also have a real estate arm, which provides a home for over 150 different organizations, and we partner with corporates and governments to achieve meaningful impact and sustain social change. So we at Mars support Canadian companies that range in revenue from $0 to $100 million across our core vertical sectors, which include health, climate, and emerging tech. We provide end-to-end solutions that help startups scale globally. Our services include tailored market intelligence, connections to industry leaders, opportunities to participate in our exclusive events and communities, advisory and mentorships, and supporting and attracting and maintaining tech talent. We host a job board on behalf of all of our ventures where you can find all of their current job postings on our job board. So above our traditional startup services, we also partner with organizations from across the globe to help innovators tackle society's biggest challenges. In the interest of time, I'm just going to focus on our last one, which is called Mobility Unlimited Hub, which I've helped design and create with the help of many people here, and I currently lead. So the Mobility Unlimited Hub is in collaboration with the Toyota Mobility Foundation, and we launched this initiative in March of 2024. Since we've launched, we've onboarded 16 ventures to our 2 cohorts, part of a 24-month program, and it's designed to accelerate the development, commercialization, and adoption of transformative active mobility technologies. And so active mobility technology is known as accessibility, or technologies in the rehab, accessibility, and assistive sphere, and anything that helps people be more sustainable and create a more self-reliant and sustainable life for everyone. We're hoping to launch a 3rd cohort next summer in 2026. So just to echo what many people have already said, we achieve better results when we work together. No single organization can do it alone, and we know that it takes a village to raise ventures and to see that impact. And so for that reason, we've taken a community-driven approach to the hub, and we bring together diverse perspectives, resources, and expertise. We encourage you to join us in our movement to reshape the future of mobility together by helping fast-track innovation and to bring solutions to those who need it most. So I've listed out here a few different opportunities to engage with us at Mars. Of course, ventures are always encouraged to apply to our portfolio. We do ongoing basis in our encouraging ventures to apply. As well, the Mobility Unlimited Hub, we have a dedicated physical space in the Mars building, and we'll be participating in the Startup Open House next week on October 9th from 3 to 7. Our ventures will be showcasing some of their technology, demoing them, and it's your opportunity to see our space for the first time. Mars will also be taking part of the Cohort Open House, showcasing 35 more ventures across our location. It's free to attend, everyone's welcome. So if you'd like to join us, please come to 101 College Street next week, and we'd love to see you there. Additionally, we have a low barrier entry for anyone to take part of the Mars wide ecosystem. By creating a profile on Mars Connect, it provides you the opportunity to connect with hundreds of our Canadian ventures and see what's happening in our ecosystem. It's not only built for founders, but also for innovators, decision makers, and corporates who want to learn more about what's happening in the ecosystem, learn more about funding data and market trends. And so you can join that by going to app.mars.com. MarsTD.com. And all the information about our programs, our services, and our spaces can be found at MarsTD.com. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Sophie. That was right on time. And let's move right over to our next speaker from Praxis Spinal Cord Institute.
All right, everyone. My name is Ms. Shani. I'm here from Praxis and thrilled to share how we help innovators accelerate in the spinal cord injury space. All right, so we are a Canadian not-for-profit based in Vancouver. The team is thrilled to be here in person today, Varun. And we are leading global collaboration through a network of incredible clinicians, industry experts, and very importantly, people with lived experiences, so people with spinal cord injuries. Our vision is to translate best-in-class knowledge into action and leverage the motivation and the experience that our community brings to the table. All right, so engaging in the spinal cord injury or SCI space can be challenging. And we've had various members of our community tell us that they find engagement fragmented with very few tangible wins. And so we realize that startups might find it difficult to engage with this network to relay their clear impact or ROI. And so this is where Praxis steps in. We act as a convener. We build bridges through authentic partnerships rather than just transactional support. I would say it's very important to highlight that SCI goes beyond goes beyond paralysis. Individuals with spinal cord injury will often encounter a host of secondary complications. As you can see here, at any given point, you will find that on average, individuals will host up to 15 complications at any given point. And so if we're going to dig into some of these pressure injuries, for example, we look at that as, we look at pressure injuries beyond just the numbers. Yes, we look at them just beyond the numbers. It indicates a very critical failure in our current care approaches to spinal cord injury. We'll jump into UTI. UTI impacts 1 in 5 people with spinal cord injury. 1 in 5 will often experience annual infections and unfortunately result in 10 to 15% of related deaths. And if there's one more complication to talk about, it is neuropathic pain. So 96% of individuals with SCI live with neuropathic pain, sometimes lifelong. And it's this broad impact that drives what we do and our work forward. So not just mobility, but also overall health, quality of living, and independence. Okay, very quickly, yes, we have outdated solutions. I think we all know this, whether it's pharmaceuticals or management therapies. We have a lot of solutions that numb pain. Practices like turning patients over to minimize pressure injuries have been used for over a century. And UTI, when it comes to intermittent catheters, are still very, very risky. And so our solution, what is it that we do? We bring together our network. We pair founders with clinicians, researchers, experts, and especially that end user to create and advance, accelerate solutions in this space. All right, so our programming. We currently have 3 programming pathways for startups to engage with us. SEI Incubate focuses on pre-prototype ventures. SEI Accelerate focusing on startups that have early MVP stage technologies, and most recently executed SEI Adopt, which works with founders who have an open call for funding. It is important to note that across all our programs, we offer mentorship and validation across commercialization, clinical trials, and user testing. Okay, and if there is a secret sauce to what Praxis does, it is bringing individuals together to design clinical trials, develop product roadmaps, and even strategize, craft outreach, clinical outreach strategies, adoption strategies alongside the startups. All right, very, very quickly, incredible milestones that the Praxis team has achieved. I'm going to skip right over this. I think the one I will highlight is we have incredible mentors that have donated or given their time up to 3,000 hours plus to mentor the founders and the startups in our programs. We have a very simple integrated assessment approach that has proven its value, and so we use this to match the right people, the right projects at the right time. I think that sums it up for me. Please reach out, come find me if you want to engage with our programs, explore them. We want to book a pre-call with you. These pre-calls help us and help you make sure that it's a right fit. We identify your priorities and make sure that our network and expertise can help support your goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishani. And finally, and last but not the least, our friends from Obio.
Hello, this is loud. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say when the invitation came from Varun, I had no clue about Access to Success, and that's my problem. And when I learned about it and listening to Varun today, it's very inspiring, the kind of work that you're doing. And thank you so much for doing this, because I've always seen this need of supporting companies that are working on products for people with disabilities. So thank you so much. I kind of, when Varun sent me the schedule, I saw 6 minutes, 6 slides kind of a thing, but then I realized that we keep talking and we don't highlight the things that I want to. So I built a slide deck with like 6-7 slides, and I'll just focus on the first 2 and just highlight the key points that you can take home and then remember. So first of all, I'm Devaswan Koshal. I'm the Senior Director of Technology Adoption at Obio. It's a pleasure being here. Obio as an organization, we are a not-for-profit, membership-based life sciences and medtech accelerator. And our mission is to address the needs of the next generation of companies that are developing technologies in human health. So we are not absolutely laser focused on disabilities, but anything that touches human health is something that we can support. We have been around for 16 years now, helping companies scale and commercialize their products and scale their products in the Canadian market. We are technology agnostic. That means that we work with traditional therapeutics, diagnostics, medical devices, digital health, anything that can have an impact on human health and how care is delivered to the patients. We would support those companies. We basically, and this is a slide I'll probably focus on and to mention a few key things in each of these verticals. So these are the 3 strategic focus areas that we have. First thing that we help companies with is commercialization. So, and what I mean by commercialization is not like being a part of that product development journey. We are very much your business advisors. So we want to help startups raise investments. We do the largest life sciences and medtech summit in all of Canada at the seed and Series A stage. So if you are raising money actively, then we are there to support you. We have capital investment readiness programs targeted towards life sciences and tech companies and digital health companies. We have every program looks into different stages. So we have the HealthMint program that looks into a little early stage, which is, or by early, we don't typically engage with companies that are, if you're familiar with the technology readiness levels, on 1 to 4. So typically we would start engaging with companies when they are when they have an MVP ready and they know that there's a business around it and they have figured out that there is a business model that it can be sold in the in any market, like Canadian market or elsewhere. That's where we come in and try to shape for that first institutional VC investment into the company, and then we have something called the Capital Access Advisory Program, which is basically a competitive program for supporting companies raising late seed to Series A. So if you're raising somewhere between 2 to 20 million, we are there to help you. If you're beyond 20 million, we are not the right partners. If you're looking for like that first friends and family or the first angel investment round, we can help you, but we are not the best suited to help you at that stage. We do have an investor network in the angel groups, but we are more equipped to help you through the venture capital investments. And also we have the investment summit that happens once every year in February. Next year is February 3 to 5. The applications are open right now. So if you are raising investments and you would like to pitch to global investors, we typically get, like earlier this year, we got around 195 to 100 VCs joining from all across the globe. So if you want to pitch to investors, please apply. The other programs, majority of the other programs that I'll talk about, we have rolling admissions, right? So we, depending on the stage you are, we have an eligibility criteria, we go through it, but everything is rolling admission, which means that we never, or at least 90% of the times we don't reject companies unless we definitely feel we can't help a company at all. We never reject companies, we give you milestones to reach and you can always get back to us and then we will be able to support you. So that's commercialization. In market adoption, we have built what we call the Early Adopter Health Network, which is the largest Canadian healthcare network collaborative, which is right now sitting at 83 healthcare organizations across the country. So it's a pan-Canadian network. The whole purpose is to bring market-ready solutions, so solutions that are TRL 8, 9, that are already generating revenues or are trying to get into the health system through public procurement processes, to get those products into the health systems in Canada and to help them scale beyond borders and go to other markets as well. But we have been working with several companies. One of the examples I give is Trexor Robotics, which is in the disability space, and we have recently got them procured by Hamilton Health Sciences. So it is changing the lives of the patients and the children in that region, and we hope that we can help them scale as well. So that's the market adoption program. Again, like the applications open throughout the year, and so if you are a technology that is at that level, please connect with us, and I'll be happy to share more of that program. Then the final piece is skills development and training, and this is where we focus a lot on training entrepreneurs and startups, or with with a lot of courses and programs, workshops. So the latest workshop that we are doing is actually on October 16th, which is an AI event in healthcare, and we're getting top industry experts and healthcare executives from the hospitals to come down and talk with their startups and have a panel discussion. So we have a lot of programs on cybersecurity, and we are also funded by the Government of Ontario to support companies develop critical technologies, which is the AI, robotics, cybersecurity, etc., in startups in Ontario. So that's us. Thank you so much. I have a few more slides, Varun. I don't know if you are sharing the slides with everyone, but if you are, sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are happy to share. Please connect with me, us, our team. I have QR code somewhere here. So, please connect with us and we'll be happy to talk more about what we can help you with. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that was all of the pitches. That was the first section of today's event. I did promise some Q&A for all of you. And I did promise in our agenda that we will build in a bit of a break for anyone who needs a break. So we're going to combine that a little bit. If you would like to stretch your legs, please do so. But we will have a proper networking portion at the end of the event. So save the full-on mingling for then. In the meantime, my team is around. Does anyone have any questions for any of the organizations that have pitched to you so far?
For OBIO, it was a good presentation, but here's the problem someone like me is always facing. I'm disabled, I don't have an income. Everybody wants a company that's already doing business, already doing things, okay? That's like me going on and Mark Lugan Cuban there saying, what have you done? What have you done lately? How many people are following you on social media? How many patents do you have? Well, my income is less than 20 grand a year. I don't have any patents. I don't even have any patent pendings. So when we want to get to that next stage, we can't get there because we can't even get to the first stage. So if you're a nonprofit with the government, then you got to work on the people like myself who want to get to that stage. Now, just to bring this up, I've been trying to be into this space for a long time. I never heard of you guys. I'm so lucky I did now. But what happened recently with me was fantastic. A few months ago, I called up the largest developer of high-rise condominiums in the country. And I said to them, I'm disabled, I use a mobility scooter, I live in an apartment building. If there's a fire in here, I'm screwed, I can't get out. But I think I figured out a solution. Would you be open to listening to what it is? And shot upon shot, they did not ask me, what have you done? What are the sales? Any of that crap. They said, yes, we're willing to listen. I met with them, they were blown away. Now they're working on my idea. They're going to be able to make it a game changer. So anyone with a disability, if they're stuck in a building, if they have to get out, they don't have to worry about the stairs, they don't have to worry about the elevator, they can get up there. It's going to be a game changer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Franco. I can quickly share our successes perspective on that. That's where we very much started. That's where we started with early sales startups who have shown some need, who have shown some validation of that need, and so on. Truth is, demand for all of the programs is so high, our space is so limited that this year my team and I spent a lot of time trying to answer that exact question. So in our case, we ended up doing a lot more free public events, both online and in person, such as this. We ended up launching office hours where anyone in the world who's trying to build anything that they're in the world of visibility innovation can come have a call with us and we talk with them. We'll share whatever resources we have. The starting point for that is reaching out to us to one of our points that I shared earlier. Anyone from any of the organizations that pitched? I see Anthony has a response there.
Thanks for your comments. Built-in environments, accessibility is very important. So we have some researchers who are focusing on built-in environments in homes, in parks, and all that kind of stuff. We're also part of this group called UOI, Urban Planning Institute. They have this coalition, so accelerating accessibility, a coalition where we're bringing in developers as well to raise the awareness of building environments. So we are doing that. I'd love to have further conversations with you. Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question for Anthony, actually. You mentioned that you guys help connect kind of entrepreneurs to patients for clinical trials. what does that process look like? And as someone who's like working towards an MVP, like how can we actually test our MVP with patients that can actually validate whether it works or not? Because kind of we're stuck at this weird spot where we have a device that we're working on. We've been working on it for 4 months full time, and we know it works with us, but we don't know if it works with our target population, right? It uses EMG. It's like a mobility glove, essentially, and we want to be able to test it with those patients. And all we're going off of right now is our own physiology as well as research we've done regarding what the difference in physiology is. But like actually testing it would be a whole, you know what I mean? It's an important step before we ever think about producing our MVP.
Sure.
Shrey, yes.
Great question. Applies to all of you. So we have a team who will sit down with you and understand exactly what the data is. Okay? We will do the matchmaking. Find some of the expertise across our scientists who can help. Because they're integrated with our clinical teams, then we will know exactly what patient populations are needed. Right? Once we can do that, we can start having those conversations. Yesterday I met with some clinicians. They want to be made aware of these technologies that are coming out of everyone's hands, right? So we have these mechanisms to put you first in front of them, quick demos, and then excite them and see how can we do more. So yeah, I mean, the first thing is speak with us. We have some gateways to help you there. I'm sure that even some of our partners who have connections with hospitals, I think Tyler, you do a lot of that as well with Manly Ventures. We're connecting with researchers over at Bates. So I think it's a lot of overlap.
Just to add an addendum to it, I know there's students at the University of Waterloo. So is there different pathways depending on which way you're coming in? So I happen to know these guys are students at the University of Waterloo. I'm just wondering if there's different pathways depending if you're coming independent to a university setting as a student or otherwise.
Great question. Pathways are all the same. We're trying to simplify it. If there's a way that we can connect what you want to do with expertise within Kite, greater whole of UHN, our job is to help.
We have time for one more question. Okay. With that, let's move to the next portion of.
Can I ask the first question too?
Please go ahead.
While I fully empathize with what you were saying, and Mars, while we do focus on specific targets for the mental health support, we realize that there are additional people out there who want to build them but just don't know how. So we offer Entrepreneur 101, one of our services, that gives you like a five module workforce to get you to create those skills on how to create your own entrepreneurship and helps you throughout the journey. It's $35 to apply, but it's reimbursed once you complete the course. And it gives you all the fundamentals of how to create your own startup. There is options even though as isn't what we do, we still know that it's needed in the industry.
It's a really great segue here because you can't do anything in this space. You can't build for people with disabilities without talking with people with disabilities. Like I said in the beginning today, I have disabilities myself, but my experience with disability is my experience with disability. I know this ecosystem because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of organizations, and more importantly, a lot of people with disabilities who share their experiences with me, who tell their problems, their solutions, their experiences with me and my team. That's where that expertise comes from. That's the importance of working directly with people with disabilities. There's been all this conversation in Canada on inclusive hiring, on hiring for people with disabilities, but in the disability innovation ecosystem, I don't think so. Not really. That's what we wanted to explore today. This conversation today doesn't end with the innovation. The innovation is just a part of it. This conversation today is ultimately building not just for, but with people with disabilities. As they say, nothing about us without us. Thank you. It's fitting that the person who said that call and response was my dear friend Tim, who is our amazing, wonderful speaker for this conversation on inclusive hiring pathways. Tim Rose has been one of the oldest, most steadfast supporters of Access to Success since the idea of Access to Success was born. And I'm really delighted to welcome him to the stage today for a conversation on inclusive hiring pathways with none other than Radha McCullough, who is the CEO of Specialist Turn Canada and, as it just so happens, a current ATS 2025 participant.
Woo! Thank you, Ryan. Over to you.
Okay, just testing the volume here. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay. Well, hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining Tim and I in this conversation where we're going to be exploring innovation in inclusive hiring. And thank you to Varun and for coming to be a part of the event tonight. We're really delighted to join all of you and the ATS team. I'm Radha McCullough. I'm CEO for Specialist Turn Canada. Specialist Turn Canada. It's a difficult word to pronounce. I often hear it pronounced as special Listerine, but it's not. It's Specialist Turn, and it is a nonprofit charity. We work with employers of all different industries, all different sizes, to build neuro-inclusive hiring and management practices. So to create workplaces where neurodivergent folks thrive. And so over to you, Tim.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Tim Rose. Rada is doubling as moderator and mic stand for this presentation. So pulling double duty, that's amazing. So I'm Tim Rose. I am a senior consultant in client experience accessibility with CIBC Bank. I'm also a longtime member of the disability community in many different spaces, including recruitment, consulting, and everything in between. I'm a 2024 member of the Canadian Disability Hall of Fame, and just to give a little bit of visual description of myself, I am a white male with glasses sitting in a power wheelchair that I've lived in pretty much my whole life. I mean, not this exact one, because it would have broken by now, but I've lived in wheelchairs my whole life. Was lucky enough to be born with a significant physical disability. I'm really excited to be here with all of you today.
Great. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. So we know that the workplaces that employ people with disabilities tend to be more productive, more stable, more resilient, more innovative. And we also know that businesses that think outside the box, that offer those innovative approaches to hiring, are more likely to tap into new talent pools. So hiring disabled and neurodivergent individuals. So I thought that probably the best place to start off is just to do a little sort of level setting. And so, Tim, from your perspective, what do we mean when we're talking about inclusive hiring, and why is innovation so important?
Yeah, to me, inclusive hiring is very much about breaking the system. And what I mean by that is that the system, the employment system in Canada and around the world, it's broken, right? The numbers aren't moving. And so inclusive hiring is rupturing that. It is breaking that and finding new ways to approach things and being innovative in the way that we think about recruitment. It's not about hiring people with disabilities because it gives you the warm and fuzzies and lets you put a nice video on your website. It's about tapping into an innovative and untapped talent pool that is begging for work. And so that, to me, is what inclusive hiring is.
Yeah, and I think that many of you in the room know some of the stats. So we know that in Canada, 60% of people with disabilities are not working. That employment rate is actually much lower for autistic Canadians at about 33%. And so the barriers, as Tim said, are real and they're persistent. So while my team at Specialist Internet and other organizations across Canada are doing fantastic things, we know that there's innovation needed to be able to break down some of those barriers. So quite literally, there are hundreds of thousands of Canadians who are qualified, educated, motivated, ready to work, but are encountering barriers in the hiring process that are screening them out inadvertently, and we see this every day in the work that we do.
And also, just to add one more thing, I'm just gonna, just to add one more thing. If you want to tap into people with disabilities to test your product or test your idea, pay them, please. Our talents and our lived experience are not something that should be given away for free. It's not. It's often difficult to put your identity forward like that. And so if we could just, as a society, recognize that tapping into someone's lived experience is worth something, and that something needs to be remunerated, I think that's really important.
Welcome, PSA, and important PSA. I think that just to add to that, I think that's also for startups and as you might be sort of headed out and looking for funding. That's a key thing to build into your funding request off the top too, right? So if you're going to be co-designing and consulting with people with lived experience, to be building that into your funding ask and your budget ask, because it's a critical part of product development, service development. Okay, so Tim, in your experience working in inclusion and accessibility, what's one or two barriers that organizations often don't realize is getting in the way of disabled individuals who are looking for work?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. So I'm going to focus on one that's more entry-level focused, and one that's kind of once you get into the organization, how you move beyond that entry level. There's a great paper a few years ago by a British disability scholar named Alan Rollstone, who had this idea that for people with disabilities, it's not a glass ceiling, it's a glass cubicle, because not only can you not move up, but you also can't move sideways without having to constantly re-educate and re-advocate for yourself. So I think at entry level, what I would say is one barrier that people constantly struggle to get right is how to reshape an interview, right? And it could be something really simple. For example, I don't shake hands. If you try and shake hands with me, we will end up doing this really awkward cross-body dance thing. And then eventually you'll just kind of awkwardly grab my arm and lift it up and down a couple times. But when I was looking for work, that immediately put me on the back foot. Because immediately they were thinking, how is he going to shake hands with our clients? Or how are people going to interact with him in meetings? And so reframing the interview process, which Specialist Internet does a fantastic job at, thank you very much, is critical. And then once you get in, it's really important to recognize that there are barriers to leadership opportunities for people with disabilities in these large organizations. I can't work the 60-hour week to get ahead. I can't, stay a bunch of time after hours. And so it's recognizing those barriers and creating a mentoring pipeline within organizations so that people with disabilities can climb the corporate ladder, or better yet, turn the corporate ladder into a rank.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I think that I have a couple points that I wanted to highlight, but I just think that that's so important. We often, when we talk about inclusive hiring, we often are focused on recruitment, and that's critically important, obviously. We want to change standard recruitment and assessment practices that are screening out people with disabilities, neurodivergent folks, but it doesn't end there. We have to be thinking about the entire employment life cycle, thinking about career growth, career advancement, and development. So I hadn't heard that the glass cubicle before, but it's an important analogy.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think in terms of my experience working with Specialist Learner, one of the key barriers that we see at an organizational level, and nobody here is going to be shocked by this, but it is just the status quo that we tend to see as the biggest barrier to inclusive hiring. It's sort of the mindset and thinking, and we can all sort of relate to it, but we've been hiring this way forever, we've been managing people this way for since the beginning of time, and it works. Except maybe it doesn't actually work, and that it works for a certain group, but it's screening out certain candidates, it's overlooking certain people for job promotions, and it's individuals who are quietly resigning because they do not feel that they belong in the workplace, they're not set up for success in the workplace. So I think that's one of the big barriers that we see in the work that we do as Specialist Learner. Okay, I wanted to jump into some key sort of strategies and insights. Okay, so just to sort of set up the question for you, at Specialist Learner, we work with businesses to employ different thinking, and that's our tagline. And that quite literally means that we work with businesses to hire people who think differently, who think differently, communicate differently, process information differently. But the tagline also highlights the importance of approaching the way we hire in a different way. So we ask the employers that we partner with to really employ different thinking when it comes to recruitment, assessment, onboarding, people management, and so on. So the question for you, Tim, is what innovative approaches to hiring have you seen in action, and how have they broken down barriers?
Yeah, so I'm going to start the answer to this question with a shout out to someone in the back of the room that I didn't even know was going to be here. I'm going to shout out Sophie Poirier and the amazing Mars team and the work that I was able to do with Mars a couple of years ago on something we call the Inclusive Design Challenge, which was a series of 4 innovative challenges that CIBC sponsored that looked at innovative approaches to employing people with disabilities. And there were some really, really interesting innovations that came out of that 4-challenge series. And our report is still available online. If you Google CIBC Mars Inclusive Design Challenge, you should find the report. Really, really interesting stuff. And what it came down to, honestly, just listen to what your employees are telling you. And that sounds really simple, but so many companies don't do it. And so things like companies that have people with disabilities in senior leadership positions, that makes a huge difference. But also companies that have active disabled employee resource networks, things of that nature, that makes a big difference. And then the other thing is, and Specialist Learner is kind of the leader in this, the status quo doesn't work. And so it needs to literally be broken and rebuilt in a way that is more inclusive. And we see from some of the rhetoric coming from down south that people with disabilities are now being blamed for plane crashes, which is very weird, by presidents and various things. And like, we can all kind of laugh and smile about it, but like, he is targeting an already disadvantaged community, right? And so, in terms of like those innovative approaches, they're not that innovative. It's just about being smart. You don't have to applaud after every one of my answers. I will give them more regardless.
I think that we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like around sort of listening and how important that is. I think that I also sort of felt the same way when I was thinking about this question. What are some innovative approaches? And I think some of them are common sense, and they start with listening to people. I think at Specialist Learner, one of the things that we do that was innovative many years ago, and I think remains innovative until we really changed the status quo around recruitment, is we have a no resume, no interview approach to hiring. So we know that the interview is a great way to assess a person's ability to sell themselves, but not necessarily the best way for a neurodivergent individual to showcase the potential fit for the job. And so it's, thinking about other outside the box thinking, innovative ways that you can assess a person's fit for the job outside of the interview format. So that might be things like work samples or portfolio or any other opportunity for that person to show instead of simply tell. And so when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, I don't know if it's truly still innovative because we've been doing it for a decade. But it is innovative, and that's the kind of thinking that we're hoping will inspire us. All right, so we've got lots of different people in the room. We've got startups, we've got industry leaders, we've got leaders in rehabilitation and care. That you're all a part of the movement to drive accessibility forward through innovation. So, Tim, from your perspective and based on your experience, how can this sector, so the people in this room, support inclusive hiring? So really sort of thinking about the different elements of the employment life cycle.
So I'm going to let you all in on a little secret. And it's that all of those words that startup culture loves, innovative thinking, being creative, unlocking ideas, people with disabilities do that every day because we live in a world that isn't designed for us. And so if you want to tap into truly innovative thinking by people that have to, by their very living, be innovative, where else would you go for that kind of knowledge? Right? And so really, like to all of you, think about reframing what recruitment is. Think about leveraging organizations like Social Service. Think about plugging into innovations that you see coming from the disability space because we live it every single day. And so I really encourage all of you to kind of break the system in your own head and redefine it. Disability has never ever been a disadvantage to me. You can't see it now because I'm wearing long sleeves, but I have the wheelchair parking logo tattooed on my upper shoulder. And I did that as a mark of claiming my identity and the power that is in my disability. And that power has translated into me, for me, into a 20-year career. And it can do for so many other people. I had a number of people who gave me a shot. So many people just gave me a shot. Right?
Thanks, I was pausing there for clapping. I think a really powerful message, and I want to move us into Q&A because I think I know that's my favorite. But I think I'll just add one other little comment around the importance of inviting people in and listening, and that is around co-design. And an easy way to do this, a really easy way, is to have people with lived experience take a look at your job postings. That's a really fantastic, insightful experience. And that's a great example, a very simple example of co-design, and can reveal a lot about how your job posting is attracting different candidates or perhaps the same candidates over and over again. So we'll pause there, we'll open it up for Q&A, and I think we probably both have a takeaway for you all.
Yeah. Any questions, comments?
And I'll agree with you. Tim, I will wholeheartedly agree with you on the issue regarding the employment process, where you onboard somebody, you train them, and then it seems piddle paddle or stop at that stage of the game. There's no advancement, no training further for persons with disabilities. Totally wholeheartedly agree with you on that point. And it's that whole avenue that has to be taken a look at. And even to the point of what if the fit's not there, then have the organization within also verifying the fit.
Right. Yeah, great point.
Hi, thank you, Tim and Radha for sharing their insight. Radha had a question specifically for you. So, ex-specialist or not specifically, do you work with pre-vetted employers and employees? And also, here are some statistics, right? So, 34% of unemployment rate is specifically targeted towards disabilities and people with disabilities. You add another 12% to it, it's a subspecialty for people with disabilities who are racialized. So my question to you is, why, being very honest and brazen here, but while putting rubber to the road, the brass tacks is, no resume, no interview sounds wonderful. How are you ensuring anonymity of your racialized people living with disabilities? Because my disability is not disparaging me, but employers are, and they need to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's a good, very important comment and question. And I think certainly the intersectionality is a critical part of what we're talking about when we talk about accessibility. At Specialist IRNA, our approach is anonymous in the beginning. And so it is we take when I say a sort of no resume approach, we support the individual in building out a structured candidate profile, which highlights the key skills and competencies that the employer is looking for in the role. And it is anonymous in the beginning. When those structured candidate profiles are put forward to the employer. Many of the employers that we work with, we are also working with in terms of offering awareness, education, and training as well to ensure that we're creating inclusive spaces where employees feel psychologically safe, sense of belonging, and they can advocate for adjustments or accommodations that they might require on the job.
Those employees do have access to an interview later on with the candidate, right?
That is right, yes.
So that is also a pre-vetting process to find a racialized person and tell them outright, which is what happens in non-disability hiring as well, extensively. So my question to you is a twofold question. How are you avoiding that? Why is there a barrier for the employer not to meet the candidate or see them virtually before they hire or contract as liaison to specialists? How are you differentiating yourself from others?
Right, it's a good question. And I mean, I think that it's something that in terms of we're working with different employer partners, different community organizations to tackle those systems of discrimination. But you're pointing to a real issue, and I think an incredibly important one for individuals with intersecting identities as well.
Yeah, because they don't need to see my disability to feel my disability.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I may, as somebody with disabilities myself, I've been turned down from jobs personally. I've had situations where I've asked for accommodations and I never got them. Right? The reason you're in this room here today having this conversation is so that we can start with the problem and then move towards a solution. I think this is where the conversation towards the solution is. It's not necessarily about why are you not doing it. I think it's about how might we start doing this. So I encourage all of you, I'm glad to see there are so many more questions. I think we have a few more minutes for more questions. And I encourage all of you, please continue this conversation during the networking portion. You're asking the right questions, and I want to hear your solutions too.
Follow up on the last question, with a lot of applications going online every day, there's been an increase of ATS and AI going into HR. So my question is, how do you convince employers that using these systems is going to hurt the community?
So one of the things that I've always found really powerful in this space is lived experience stories. That's why I said earlier it's important to pay people for their lived experience, because that is what moves the needle. When I tell people that I've had situations where I got called for an interview, I didn't disclose my disability in the cover letter, and then they called me and I said, is the office wheelchair accessible because I'm in a wheelchair? And they got very awkward and hung up the phone very, very quickly. And so, like, I think you have to kind of recognize that telling stories is a really powerful way to convince companies that this cannot be done by robots, right? Real effective, nuanced hiring, as much as Isaac Asimov likes to tell us that robots are awesome, one of the things they're not going to be able to do, because there's something really human about all of this work. And I truly believe that that is what you need to do, is just tell a good story.
Thank you so much for the conversation, it was amazing. I just want to add something to the two previous ones. I have a disability myself. I know how difficult it is to find a job. I found those obstacles. But one thing I will, and this may be a little bit controversial, but one thing that I would recommend to everybody is just not to give up, and also don't put blame on maybe the employer. Hey, they didn't accommodate me or they didn't hire me. But rather see what you can actually do to change that next time you go for a job interview. If they give you a no, try to understand, hey, is it something related to my disability, or maybe something related to my skills and how I'm going to be able to perform at that job? So that's something I learned very, very early on. And yes, you're going to be faced with discrimination. I didn't feel, but at the end of the day, is one no, I'm going to have to go to the next, and eventually I'm going to go to a yes. And when it comes to AI, wonderful, and I think I'm very, very passionate about this. I think people with disabilities, as well as everybody, need to understand how to utilize it. Know how to program, how to create I don't know, a ChatGPT type of scenario or anything like that. Learn how to use it, because it's going to be an enabler. I just wanted to say that, but thank you so much for the discussion.
Yeah.
Hi. I was an education assistant with the school board.
Yeah.
And I had a principal that didn't want me on staff because I had a physical disability.
Yeah.
So she thought, okay, I'll get JD out by Christmas because he has no fight, no anything. Why was she wrong? I took the board, and I took her to human rights. I took my union to the labor board, and I won.
Good for you. I'll just say, as someone that is a resident shit disturber in my own life, well done. That is awesome, and unfortunately, that is too frequently the way you make change, is by raising hell. And it's tiring, and it's exhausting, and it's all of those things, and we shouldn't have to do it, but we do.
And I've been on the cutting edge of everything that I've ever done. I have my culinary management and my culinary skills from Algonquin College. I now develop kitchen tools for people with mobility issues with George Brown. And the first thing I do, I work with 4 students at a time. And the first thing I do is I give them a blank piece of paper and a pencil. And I say, draw a straight line using your non-dominant hand. They're not going to be able to do it. And they say, why? I said, number one, this is not a test. This is just an exercise. And they asked me, what's the exercise? I said, did I say you couldn't use your dominant hand? No, I did. The reason I'm doing that is because I want them to think outside the box. Because that's what I have to do every day.
Sure. I think we have a couple more questions, and I know we're short on time. Or are we having questions?
Yeah, no, I do eventually will have time to just speak with each other or meet each other here in the room, so Tim, last word to you.
Yeah, I just like to say, you're already change makers just by being in this room. So make sure you take advantage of this opportunity. Access to Success is one of the most, I mean, I'm not saying this because the founder is currently my mic stand. Access to Success is one of the most innovative companies I've ever seen, ever, anywhere. And they're based right here. And we need to take advantage of that. So make sure you break the system, be the Shaker server, and tap into a huge pool of untapped talent. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Madhav, for leading us through this amazing conversation. And that brings us to the end of this portion.